remaining two council members and the mayor's coming in. The next item that we are talking about is the fire season after action report. And that'll be coming up here in just a minute. We probably should have taken a brief recess, but
they're coming. I hear them.
here they are.
Okay, next up, we have council business. First items are from the city manager. And the first of the two items is the fire season after action report, in which the council will receive an informational presentation from the city of Lakeport and Lakeport Fire Protection District regarding 2024 wildland fire incidents and ongoing mitigation efforts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As your council's aware, we did have quite an active fire season past year. And so in my regular meetings with Chief Reitz, with the Lakeport Fire Protection District, we discussed the need to perhaps do kind of a after action kind of overview report of one of the incidents that occurred, and kind of, talking specific about some of the circumstances there, and then kind of just having a open discussion and review of some of our mitigation efforts. And as referenced in the last item, also CAL FIRE has recently proposed some changes to the city's mapping. We'll have a public hearing on that probably in a month or two, but we can use this opportunity as kind of a first introduction of some of those provisions. And then there's a number of other kind of related mitigation items that are happening regionally too that we can kind of quickly discuss. But first, I'll bring up Chief Reitz. He has a presentation kind of going over a few of the incidents that did occur, and I will hand it over to him first.
Madam Mayor, council, staff, members of the public, thanks for having me. You want to expand on that for me, please? There we go. Go ahead and go to the next. Oh, you're going to let me control
Heck
this?
Yeah.
Okay. I might need your help. All right. Just a little bit about Lakeport Fire Protection District. We were established in 1894 and today we have approximately a $4 million operating budget. Staffed with 12 full-time firefighters too, and those are the majority of those are firefighter paramedics, and we're adding more all the time as some of our members increase on their certifications. We have 2 admin, 1 fire chief, and numerous part-time on-call employees and volunteers. And we're growing those ranks as we speak as well. It's amazing how many. Tonight is drill night, and every time I walk in there, there's new faces. So we do have a rule that we don't learn their names until they've made it through their task book, and we know that they're actually going to be members. No, that's not. But it does seem like that some days. We run an average of 2,800 calls plus or minus annually, and roughly 85% of those calls are EMS. Our fleet, we have 3 type 1 or structure engines. We have 2 type 3 or brush wildland engines, 1 ladder truck, 2 ALS ambulances, which by the way, were just, we had those rechassied in this last year. So they are brand new, essentially. We have 1 water tender, which also had a large amount of work done on it, and we're in the market for another water tender. And just back up to the ladder truck, we're looking at sending that back east sometime in the next 1 to 3 years, depending on availability to get it back there. They're about 2 years behind for refurbish on that unit. We have 2 rescue watercraft, or our jet skis, which some of you have seen, and we have put to work several times over the course of the 1.5 years that we've had them in service. We have a new UTV rescue as well, 2 utility trucks, and brand new Chief's Command rig, which is actually not new, but we purchased that used as well and upfitted it for our needs. Weed abatement, we work hand in hand with the county and the city when it comes to weed abatement. We follow up on complaints. 12 notices were issued, 6 notices were followed up dealing with building plan submissions. So we found another hammer in our toolbox, and that is you submit for a building plan and we don't allow a permit until you abate your property. And we've caught some major offenders by holding up their building permits doing this. We forwarded 2 notices to city code enforcement to get them involved, and we forwarded 1 to county code enforcement as well. Call statistics, just kind of a breakdown, essentially for 2024. This number seems low, but we did not include all of the outfires that we responded on or good intention calls as well. But kind of a summary that we responded to 12 wildland fires in our district that were out in the county or SRA area. The wildland in the city, we responded to 4. Out of district, we responded to 9. 13 residential fires out in the county, residential being structure fires, 2 in the city. Out of district, we mutual aided on 7 of those, and then we lost approximately 56 acres inside of our district. We did not break those out for county and city, although I can tell you that it was about 5 acres total, maybe inside the city. Major incidents we had this year were Hilton Circle, or some of us know that as Boggs and Hartley, got a little exciting, caused by a lawnmower. And if you look at the cutoff date, or the date of occurrence was June 14th. When do we have to have our properties abated by? June 1st. Started by a lawnmower. STEP was a structure fire into vegetation. We included this in here. One, that was a major fire. It was a major loss with damage to a multifamily structure unit that had already been red tagged and was not to have anyone living in it, although that we know that they were in violation. Additionally, we had several spot fires, including 20 feet up in an oak tree that had caught inside the oak tree and was burning, and we had to get a little creative with that, and a combination of CAL FIRE, ARG folks, and a PG&E truck, because there was a power line involved in that as well. And to do it safely, we handed the PG&E rep the hose and sent him up in his bucket and let him, and we supervised him very closely. We had a fire in November, which was a structure fire out in North Lakeport in the county portion of our district. That was a structure fire that was during the great downpour of the time. I believe we received probably 2 inches of rain while we were on that fire. It was a very, very wet fire. So no spread to the vegetation. In the county, I think some of you remember the transfer station fire that we were on all night. We've taken some steps and are still taking some steps. And they were billed for that fire, as a matter of fact, not only for our services, but for the foam that we used to help extinguish that fire. So we're still working with them to get some corrections done, but a problem was a buildup of fuel, and we had spontaneous combustion in probably the garbage pile, not even the vegetation pile. But they had I just drove past there 2 days before, looked at that pile, and I said, wow, that is a lot of fuel. And it proved me correct. The 12th of June, Mackey Road, that was out off of Robin Hill, 3 acres, started again by a lawnmower. No water. By the way, all of these had either no water present or attempted to use a dry chem fire extinguisher to put out a vegetation fire, and dry chem does not work in vegetation. And I will not get into explaining fire theory and extinguishing agents to you until you really want that information. June 19th, the Scotts fire out in Scotts Valley was started by a string trimmer. Again, look at the date, no water present. There minimum 100 gallons you're required when you're abating properties like this, and had no water present at all. 17th of July was Highway 29 was a 1/4 acre fire. that was actually one of two starts. We had one across the border heading towards Upper Lake on Highway 29 that was 3 acres. That one North Shore handled along with some CAL FIRE units. Ours, we got to keep ours at a 1/4 acre. However, we think that was caused possibly by dragging chains, given the start between the fires and the commonality. The August 31st fire, I think we all, anyone who happened to be in the neighborhood or in the town knows about that fire and tried to get into that fire. Everybody likes to be like moths to the flame, and which we would really like to strongly discourage. Appreciate all the assistance that we receive from law enforcement trying to not only evacuate, but keep the roads closed and trying to keep people out. And everybody with a camera claims to be a member of the press because they have a Facebook page or TikTok or whatever, and they're trying to get hits. But we did get some different angles of that video. That was a vegetation fire, started on the highway, spread into the neighborhood, damaged 2 homes, destroyed 1, and destroyed several fences. And hopefully I can, how do I get this to play?
Should just be able to click.
Please.
If you just click on it.
I just click on what?
Well,
There you go.
So this is in real time, and I'll have him play this once or twice all the way through. This is one of your dash cam videos from law enforcement from LPD. And what I want you to pay attention to is we initially thought this was a BLEVE or boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. And we now think it may have been actually a propane gas explosion in the garage first, which punctured the propane tank and launched the 100-gallon propane tank. So just for frame of reference, 100-gallon propane tank is about yay big around, and it's about that. And launched that over 100 yards. But luckily missed our people in between several fire trucks and in between several personnel. We're going to go to the next. Let it blow up. Got very exciting, and luckily no one was hurt in this. Construction crew had been working on that house and pulled back and was starting to protect the neighborhood when that explosion blew. So we're going to go to the next one. So this slows it down just a little bit and kind of show you what we're looking at. Is you'll watch police car go by, and right about in that area is where you're going to see the explosion, the first explosion. So you're going to see 2 explosions. There's the first one. That's a garage launch 60 feet into the air and coming down into the roadway. And then that shooting out is that 100-gallon propane tank, and it actually bounced. So we'll show it again, and you'll see that it actually bounced on the ground and then continued its path of travel. And then it hit on the uphill side towards the road and then rolled down into the yard. So there's a garage door. There is a propane tank. There's the bounce, and it keeps on going. So just a little bit exciting. Did do a check of all personnel to make sure everybody was accounted for immediately after. Stopped operations momentarily to do an assessment and risk assessment for safety, and then continued on with our operations. So very, very challenging. All of these fires, we had folks that grabbed their garden hose and proceeded to try to water their roofs, water their lawns, and not evacuate when told. I can't emphasize enough, if you're told to evacuate, we want you to evacuate. There's good reason to evacuate for your own safety, for your family's safety, and for our safety. And in addition, you're using my water. Please quit using the fire department's water when it comes to extinguishing. We need every drop, and we saw what happened down in the Palisades fire. So very, very important. It's not showtime, folks. This is not the time to come in with your drones. That particular explosion, we had aircraft fortunately nearby, and were assisting us in dousing that, including a helitanker that came in and made numerous 3,000 gallon drops on that structure. And I think we estimated that we put in on that house somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 to 32,000 gallons of water from the air, trying to control that. We were limited in being able to use retardant on that fire because of safety of personnel on the ground. So this is the new fire hazard severity zone maps that just came out from CAL FIRE. And I'm going to try to keep my language clean on this. And I'm not happy about this. There's a lot of us that are not happy about this, because these zones, the maps have been being built over the last couple of years. They do not take into account large fires. They do not take into account new development that will be clearing acreage. This is a 50-year map, and we can't do anything about it. We are told that the agencies having land management authority, that being you and the county, must adopt these maps. They give us a public hearing process that's lip service only. So I don't see why I need to couch my remarks, because the state has basically thrust this down our throats and told us that there's no grounds for appeal. There's no grounds to alter these maps for 50 years. There is no plan for reassessment on these maps that I can find out that they've disclosed. They've been asked very pointedly. My public comment to the state back in the day, when we were allowed to make public comment on when they were forming these maps, and they told us these were going to be 50-year maps, was that you need to have a 10-year map, not a 50-year map. This needs to be, and we need to have some method that when we have a large fire that's cleared of vegetation, or we have development that is clearing and creating these zones, or we are doing fuels mitigation projects, which we have several planned around our fire district, working with Clerk to get Hogback Ridge crew in, and maybe some other crews in, to start mitigating fuels. There's no provision in any of this to address that with these maps. We are stuck with these. And that is very, very unfortunate, because the state also legislatively allowed, or I guess it would be administratively allowed, it was illegal up until last month to use these maps for insurance purposes. We know that the insurance companies were using them, but now it is absolutely permitted for the insurance companies to look at these maps when considering your insurance on a go-forward basis. So what I did was just break down this map to show you the borders and kind of the severity zones, zooming in a little bit more, just to give you an idea of what we are looking at for the city of Lakeport. And when you go back and you look at what else has been added to, we've had some other pockets in North Lakeport that were added. And it's just, I don't know what else to say about it, because I have yet to figure out, other than we're going to be able to apply for grants. We are going to be able to get some assistance with fuels mitigation. The Lake County Fire Protection District, and I believe South Lake Fire Protection District, both adopted their own CWPPs. We're looking at that as well, but I'm going to tell you that Lakeport's probably 2 years away from being able to do that, just because of staffing and work challenges and just the workload. So, but that is something that we can also use and partner with the city of Lakeport and the county to go after additional grant funding to try to do fuels reduction and work on projects despite what the county is trying to do or the state is trying to do for us. That is my presentation. I was told to keep it under 2 hours and under 150 slides. So I will be happy to entertain any questions, comments, or remarks that you may have for me at this time. If not, I will take my seat and let Kevin finish up.
So Chief, I noticed that you had acreage burned in the Lakeport fire area, but in the city of Lakeport, it looked like from 21, 22, 23, 24 was less than 100 acres total in 4 years.
Yes, we have not had a large scale fire in our district in a number of years, and we're going to continue to keep that going forward.
And it looked also to me like the fires that we had in 24, it looked like at least a very large percentage, if not all of them, were like out of the sequence of events that they should have been, like after June 1st and other types of things that like dragging chains, which it says on the Caltrans signs, dragging chains cause fires, and that could have caused 2 fires. So the people that are not abiding by the law seem to be, and just like, let's say, illegal fireworks, those things are the ones that cause most of the problems and so forth. So when you have these people that are outside the law, and not that say it's not a danger anyway when these things do happen, but people have to like almost self-regulate themselves and realize that this is of utmost importance to their neighbors, and that we can't be all the places all the time. But it looks to me like a lot of those things, 56, 19, 75, 14, and 1 acres burned. That's in the entire district, right? That not just in the city of Lakeport.
Well, that's my understanding. I wouldn't put stock in anything before 23 for stats. Just given what I'm dealing with our master plan right now, trying to get good, clean stats. It's very, very challenging. This also especially in 2021, may not have taken into account the state responsibility area for reporting. And we tried to include as much of that in our report as possible. It's in our district, but it's SRA, state responsibility area. So,
but overall, it just doesn't seem like we're riddled with large acreage fires in the city of Lakeport, and that it's always going to be an imminent danger, but it's not like something that historically happens.
We're not, and and I'm sorry, one thing I left off the slides that I would add is that we did not have a vegetation fire or a structure fire this year's caused by fireworks inside the city of Lakeport. We had our usual dumpster fire. We all know where it's at. Safeway's parking lot or CVS's parking lot burns every year because they dump their hot fireworks in, and then the fireworks set the paper that the fireworks came in on fire. So, last year we had a structure fire on July 4th caused by improperly disposed of fireworks. We have, but for the most part, everybody complains about the fireworks every year, and we'd love to say we're only safe and sane, and we're not. And, we're working collectively to bring that number down of illegal fireworks. And we were very aggressive this year to the point of the ordinance does not allow fireworks discharge after 11 p.m. And immediately at 11 p.m. this year in the Safeway parking lot, we were on our PAs with law enforcement, shutting them down. It took us about half hour to get them shut down and chased out, and people were not happy and they were not nice. And I don't care, but we worked very aggressively to enforce the ordinance to get that matter. Because the year before it was midnight, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, that we were still running, illegal fireworks calls. And this year, I think because of our aggressive enforcement posture, we got it shut down earlier, and we didn't have nearly the hanger-ons that we had the year before. So 2 years into this, and as far as July 4th goes, and we're going to keep working on it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for?
Quick question, just thinking broader scope about the city and its protections. What does a truck pump gallons per minute approximately? You said that the helicopter could drop 3,000 gallons at once. What does a normal truck do?
Ours are 1,250 gallons or 1,500 gallons
Per minute?
But that is maximum output with the right size hoses. So that's all rated. We don't use 2.5-inch hose, and we don't use all the ports at 2.5-inch when we are extinguishing these blazes. But that, we only carry 500 gallons on the truck. We're dependent on the hydrant system. And inside of the city of Lakeport, we're very fortunate. We have a strong hydrant system, and we work hand in hand with utilities to make sure that that stays strong, including hydrant maintenance, repairs, replacements as rapidly as possible, because we all know that we've got to have those hydrants, especially during fire season. And we had some challenges. The one fire that was only a quarter of an acre, because of it was going into a neighborhood. We absolutely accessed those hydrants, and then we switched over and we actually ran our supply lines from the hydrants to the highway, so that we didn't have to keep running trucks up and down the highway.
Great. That's kind of what I was getting at is for our utilities, for our fire flow and our hydrants, it's acceptable to handle the 1,250 gallons per minute that your trucks will pump?
Yeah, we have had no problems with water supply within the hydrant system of the city of Lakeport. I would add to that we are working with your utilities and with Public Works to make sure that the water truck is adequately equipped for us to be able to utilize in the event of an incident. And we have a training next Friday, which has been floated for the county and city employees. And it's just a one-day safety training to make them familiar on working on an incident for us or the state. And so we want to get those employees up and going. And then I want to find some grant money with the city to get them the proper PPE, the proper protective clothing, so that when they're out there, we don't put them in the line of fire. I'm just telling you, they don't want to be in the line of fire. We don't put them in the line of fire, but at the same time, they do need to have still some safety equipment, and we want to make sure that they are protected as much as possible. So we're bringing in this class. It's my understanding this has never taken place, and it's way past due.
Good. Well, thank you. One more question is, it seems like the few brush fires that were started after June 1st, people were likely trying to clear their weeds that they hadn't abated. Do you think we should change that date? Is it possible for us to push that a little earlier than June 1st?
Well, given the amount of fuel growth that we're already seeing for this year, and we love the green up, but the fact that people don't keep up, I believe every one of them told me they did not know of the June 1st cutoff date. So, and others, we're dealing with absentee property owners, and we can make excuses all we want with this, but the reality of it is that June 1st, how do we do a better job of advertising that? And maybe what we need to do is rather than the letter mailer that says, this is your abatement notice, maybe we need to do the big color postcard, and it goes to all the property owners and say, June 1st is your cutoff. That doesn't mean don't wait till June 1st. It doesn't mean, abating after is a bad thing, but I would at least say I'd love to say at least they were abating. A couple of those properties, they burned quite nicely so that they didn't have to worry about abating the rest, and they weren't going to abate it anyway. So, at least not the right way, but.
I'd note too further that mid-June of this year, kind of where you saw kind of a few of those fires take place, those were also red flag conditions, right? In that we had kind of in the middle of June, we had a large heat system. So, I mean, regardless of the June 1st deadline, there just needed to be a little bit more exercise of common sense. I mean, those were very, very hot, dry days. And I believe some of those fires were started, at midday.
Well, and we had one up on the pass on the Hopland grade, a welder on a red flag day was grinding on a gate. Mm-hmm. And there was they had bottles of water. They didn't have their 100 gallons. Fortunately, somebody grabbed a hand tool, and the wind was pushing against where the fire wanted to go. And so that kind of held the fire in check. And we were able to get up there and catch it. And it was only a 10 by 20 spot. Had it started on the opposite side of the road, that fire would have been extremely destructive and very, very large. So that welder promises me he will never work there again. So,
Nice.
and
Mm.
I turned him over to the state, and I don't know if the state cited him or not, but it was in SRA, so they may have.
We did
Thank you,
move
Chief.
the date too. It was,
Okay, good.
It used to be
it
the
was
July
July 1st.
4th, yeah, July
Wow.
1st, yeah.
So a little better.
Oh, yeah, a little better. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay.
Before we open to the public, I do have a couple of comments as well. You're talking a little bit about some of our ongoing mitigation efforts, working with Chief, our Community Development Department, gets out those hazardous weed materials. We try and get some publications out in advance of that date, noting the date. Then we do our checks right after that June 1st date, go out, issue courtesy notice, that you have a couple weeks to get rid of those before we start assessing penalties. I think one of the things that Chief brought up this year that we'll definitely want to consider moving forward is rather than starting over again with those that didn't abate from the last year, that we kind of pick up at the penalty phase rather than starting over with a clean slate on that. So I think that's going to be something that we're going to be looking at going forward. The fire department, community development, and air quality sat down last year trying to come up with our current municipal code prohibits outdoor burning within the city limits. If you own 1 acre or more in the unincorporated area, you can go and get an outdoor burn permit during this time of season, not June, July, but during the prescribed time, you can, burn some of those vegetation, down limbs and other things like that are on your properties for properties that are over 1 acre. We wanted to set up a test pilot program for some of our properties that kind of make up the western boundary there. We've had a number of folks that come in and say, especially a couple of years ago when we had that snowstorm, there were a lot of downed trees and things like that they were wanting to manage that vegetation. I thought that we had a nice test pilot program set up, cooperated between the three entities. When we had those folks go ahead and apply for permits with air quality, they were all denied. So we were not able to kind of move forward with that program this year. That is something that I would like to look at and continue forward, because I think there are a number of properties on the west side that are far over 1 acre and are trying to do the right thing in managing their vegetation. And we would like to work with them. Kind of in addition to some of the things that Chief mentioned, where the Lake APC, our local area planning council, is actively working on a grant right now. They have a consultant that they've obtained looking countywide at kind of evacuation planning. They're not looking generally at existing routes. They're kind of looking at needed improvements throughout the region. That project certainly does include the city of Lakeport, and we've been working closely with them. It does have quite a bit more. I think the consultant just came on, and they're compiling some of the reports and stuff, so there'll be some additional opportunity to comment as that moves forward. In regards to physical evacuation routes, the county, as part of their general plan update right now, their consultant that they are utilizing is also compiling a climate resiliency plan, and a portion of that includes some evacuation planning route mapping, and that does include the city of Lakeport. We've been involved in that process, and that's going to be a help going forward. PD does frequently send out. We're constantly trying to build up our participation by residents and other members in the local area in our Nixle sort of Everbridge alert system. If folks are not signed up for that program, that is probably one of the best ways to get accurate information on these ongoing incidents when they're coming in. So there is on the city page and and on the Lakeport PD's page instructions on how to sign up for that, and we will continue to be getting that information out on a regular basis, getting more and more individuals set up on that. Returning to the CAL FIRE local responsibility area mapping that Chief noted there. Those maps were just provided to us this past Monday. We've been told that they've been working on these for several years, and then they told us that earlier this year that they would be releasing them. So Monday was our first sort of glimpse at those. We've been working jointly with all the fire districts in the county, as well as the County of Lake and the City of Clear Lake, together in developing some consistent mapping on these things. I share every single one of Chief Reitz' comments on it. There is not a lot of opportunity for us to make changes. We can upzone areas if we would like to move things into higher zones, but we do not have the ability to reduce any of the proposed zones that have been provided. So we just started the 90-day kind of public comment circulation. We'll continue to get more communications out on that. So then probably we're looking March or April, we will schedule a public hearing before council. Per the legislation, because we have very high and high zones within the city limits, we're required to adopt the maps and the accompanying ordinance on there. That's really the first step. I think there's quite a bit. This mapping is going to have a number of different repercussions. That ball is going to keep bouncing. Chief mentioned that some other entities, including Clear Lake, have adopted their own kind of specialized plan. I do think that that is something that we need to be putting some focus on, kind of highlighting some of the large macro-related projects that entities like Clerk and other folks are doing for large-scale fire hazard reduction out in the state responsibility area, but then also highlighting a lot of the micro level things that we can do and the programs that are available for abating weeds and establishing the zone 0 ember resistant zones in that first 5 feet. I think there's a lot of different aspects that we can do to kind of continue. So one of the things we want to do is build kind of a toolkit for our residents to have on their fingertips when they inevitably receive, perhaps cancellation notices on their insurance or receive, 300% plus increases on their insurance, that we have some of these toolkits to kind of provide that information back to the insurance providers that, look, there is a lot of things that are going on, and to try and help our residents maintain that insurance program. The biggest thing that kind of monitoring in that is that zone 0. AB 3074 that was passed in 2020 by the state legislature and signed into law by the governor establishes this, what's called zone 0. It's the first 5 feet surrounding your home is an ember resistant zone, and that requires removal of any vegetation. I mean, that's going all the way down to lawn. Anything that is combustible in that area needs to be removed. New construction in these zones are subject to more strict building code requirements. It hasn't been very clear how existing structures and stuff will have to meet these things. I know the real estate community has been kind of struggling a little bit on how to manage those disclosures, whose responsibility for obtaining the required inspections. CAL FIRE does the inspections. They said they will do the inspections in the state responsibility area zone, but it's not clear who's going to be doing the inspections in these now local responsibility zones. So those are some of the things that we're going to have to continue to look at and manage going forward. The governor, following the fires down in Southern California on February 6th, did pass an executive order ordering CDF and CAL FIRE to prepare kind of an implementation plan for how that zone 0 is going to work for existing construction over the next 45 days. So we're certainly going to be monitoring that and going, because that will certainly have an impact to our residents here in the community. So we're going to continue to look and march that forward, but really the adoptions of the maps are really the most rudimentary pieces of this. It's how is it going to be used by the insurance companies? What kind of requirements are going to be placed on existing homes to meet some of these more strict standards? And so we're going to be diligent in kind of monitoring those, working very closely with the fire district, looking at what kind of grant opportunities are coming down the line that we can kind of work with entities like Clerk and others like that to try and offer programs to assist our residents meet some of these things. Knowing that we're likely to see a continued pickup in folks receiving non-renewals on insurance and, or best case scenario, some significant increases. And I've seen that across the board, not just in areas that are zoned very high or high. We've kind of seen that trend in the state responsibility for sure, but this will bring it a little bit closer to home. So we're going to continue to be diligent on that, and continue to take our efforts in fire mitigation very seriously.
I have a question. As we go through this, it's sort of, there's a lot of pieces there, the maps and then the efforts and the messaging to the public, et cetera. And I guess I'm looking forward to more conversation about what that looks like, how and when do we try to engage the public to be part of the conversation. I don't have the answer to that right now, but it's like I don't know that it's all have a plan all wrapped up to hand to the public. I think but it's also to have some ideas and some opportunities to present to people as we engage them. So I think maybe it's a question, but also a thought. I don't know if you've had any vision for that yet, but I guess I'm just saying that seems like something that we're going to want to think about, how to integrate the community into the conversation, how and when.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the effort that we're doing right now in regards to the maps. I don't think there's a lot I know there's not a lot of opportunity, as Chief said. We have to go through these public hearings and stuff on the maps, but we really don't have any ability to change the maps. So, but I think what you're alluding to, Madam Mayor, would be, kind of those later steps as we move forward, some of the ideas of whether we're looking into establishing a Firewise community or some of those programs. Absolutely, those are going to be community-wide efforts with a lot of public outreach.
And even just education about the maps so that people understand they are what they are. They don't change. Here's what we're all in this together. We're all going to try to find some interventions together, et cetera.
Yeah, and I would compliment the efforts that have been done. We've worked on some joint messaging and kind of building up, kind of a public kind of portal of this information, and that's currently available. And we're trying to keep that messaging consistent across all the fire districts, Clear Lake, City of Lakeport, and the county as well. And CAL FIRE does have some good information on how these zones were established. There's a great video on that website, kind of talking about how these maps were developed, what they envision them being used for, and then kind of talking about the process of the rollout. So I would encourage everyone to kind of take a look at that.
Thank you. Any other questions for the city manager from council? Comments from the public, people in the room?
Hi, Elaine Brown. I would just like to ask the fire chief, do I get to look at him or do I look at you? It's whatever.
I don't know these
Um,
rules. I think you look
no.
at me and then he's gonna
It's directed
sneak up behind you.
But just if he could expand on the 50-year map situation, and I know you touched on some of it, Kevin, of what I wrote, like how is this going to affect, and you touched on this, the private insurer and the one that owns a business. How does this affect, do we get to clear the land? I'm not really sure what these maps delineate, what that has for people on the ground. And does that mean we can't clear them? And if we do clear it, sounded like you don't get to change the level for 50 years, even though it's different. Does that affect your insurance? Does that affect the building? Does that affect, what else did I write here? So in other words, like if you as someone who would have a voice in this that would be warranted, why are they silencing someone like you? Why is it for 50 years and not 10, which makes more sense? And I hope when the public speaks on this, I would hope they would address these things and not be pushed around by a state who is giving control over a local jurisdiction, when, as my understanding, my research, they do not help fund fire equipment in this county or help in that capacity. So why are they having so much say? Also, the beautification of homes just destroyed, like bougainvillea, different things that'll be on that make our community beautiful. I don't know if wineries are affected and they have to take 5 feet away. That's going to be quite ugly. And I just hope the public stands up for themselves. And I would really like, if that happens and you have this, what you're going to have the public speak on this, that we establish ground rules where people are respected. And if they want to talk about things such as directed energy, which may have happened in Paradise and Maui, and also aluminum, if that is really coming down from the sky, and I know you've seen fires are much faster and much quicker now, this vegetation is possibly absorbing aluminum, making them much more quickly burned. I would like to see public be able to speak to these things without being ridiculed, because sometimes there are people in the audience that will ridicule people and are planted there to do so. Thank you.
Elaine, before you run off, Elaine, so I just want to tell you I appreciate you sharing, and I simply just want to express sometimes it's very frustrating as a city official or a city staff, I would expect as well, when the mandates are coming from the state and we're all being hit with it. So
Exactly.
I think it'll be I look forward to that discussion so that we can try to figure out together what can we do, what is within our control. So I appreciate you highlighting.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate all of you, as you know. Thank you.
I can take the first shot at it before, and if Chief Reitz wants to clean up anything that I say that's wrong there. First, in regards to the 50-year nature of the maps, I do recommend taking a look at the video that is online on our public page. We have it linked there, that talks about what CAL FIRE intended the maps to be used for. I think the best parallelism there would be the same way that the flood insurance maps work. They're kind of larger, broader, kind of mapping of hazards. They're not meant. I don't think that they intended them originally to be utilized for some of the purposes that we know that they will be utilized for. So with that said, to answer some of Elaine's other questions in regards to no, continued, projects where, thinning, shaded fuel breaks, regular fuel breaks, and all those that we have been doing, post our past 10 years of massive fires in the community. Those do not trigger. There's not an opportunity for those to be reviewed 15 years down the line to change those maps. In regards to new construction, that is built in those areas, they are subject to additional building code requirements that are specific to those areas, and kind of like what we talked about in regards to, we're not quite sure how that zone 0 works. I've had the conversation with my wife about what needs to be removed, and those did not go over very well. So I mean, I think there will be quite a bit of impact as we come through, and there's going to be a lot of educational pieces there. It's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out with the insurance. So the insurance is not looking just at these maps. They have been given permission to move forward with what they have as called catastrophic modeling, of which these maps are just kind of one component going forward. So it's going to be something that we're going to continue to have to keep our eye on and kind of track those progresses and get that information out to our community. One of the big things we've already seen from discussions with other fire chiefs, in other areas, is when they are getting a whole slew of folks that are getting their insurance dropped, they have had some success. I wouldn't say total success of being able to show all the projects that they're doing in the area to do that, and that has been helpful in some of those things. And so I think that would be a good starting place for us. Clerk has a great database showing all the different projects that they've done. I mean, I think we need to have that information ready in the hands of our public when they do receive these non-renewals to kind of try and assist in pushing back.
Thank you.
So I think I'm not sure if
Any
Chief.
other residents, community members who want to speak to this issue? Right. Any hands raised online, Mel?
No hands raised online.
Thank you. Bring it back to council for comment.
I just have one comment, and I'll wrap it up. It just seems that, you know, when you consider the richest companies in the country and the insurance companies are at the top of this, it's hard for me not to believe that somebody at CDF could not have been influenced in some way. And isn't it possible that maybe, because the way I see it, with the exception of cancellations, this has got to be the biggest cash cow where you have people going up double and triple their insurance. I'm sure it's affecting real estate. I've talked to numerous people that had the deal. They couldn't pay their insurance and their mortgage because they were the same. And when the insurance companies are one of the biggest benefactors of this, and anything that's kind of on the line, we'll just cancel them. I would hope that they were not influencing this, but I'm not that guy. I believe that these people are so insidious and they're worked through strange ways, and this is not this huge. And Elaine, you know, I told everybody at a meeting 6 months ago, there's no doubt in the world that directed energy weapons hit Maui. They had firefighter, one from Lakeport, I think his name was John Lord, and he went up there with another firefighter, 35 years experience. They said, Paradise was not a wildfire entirely. It might have ended up that way, but when you have melted cars to the ground, windshields melted at 2,200 degrees, you know, it all works in the insurance company's best interest to just pound everybody. And when you talk about taking away another 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000, the economy of this town, along with the PG&E and high gas prices, there's not going to be a Lakeport if all this stuff goes through. And then how are you going to sell a house after you stripped 45 years of beautiful landscaping and you rip it away and you have this heinous looking building, and now it would be $3,500 a month plus $2,500 for insurance. It's $6,000 a month. This is going to be a very ugly place very soon because we don't have any autonomy. And a 50-year map, I mean, that's just insane. This is my comment.
Thank you. Any other comment or discussion from?
Madam Mayor, I just want to add that I appreciate the planning and pre-planning and coordination between the different departments, between the cities and the county. And it's like a miracle that you got that house out and it didn't spread to the entire neighborhood. And I know that has a lot to do with the fact that you know, everyone showed up right away. Everyone knew their role and knew what to do. And I think we can always keep working at the communication with the public. But even that, I feel like our community knows what to do and how to be prepared. And I thank all of you, chief and staff, for doing that. And I think it saves lives and saved homes. So thank you.
Any other?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, that was going to be my comment as well, is that it's a big group effort, and especially that fire that was August 31st off of Highway 29 in Boggs. I live right in that area, and there's a creek that has a ton of overgrown brush, and this house was right in that proximity. It would have shot straight through to my house, and not only the fire department, but Public Works, the police staff. It is a real community effort to put some of these fires out before they get to a much bigger problem and destroy more homes and more property. So I do think that we could look into having a weed abatement notice of mid-May instead of June 1st, knowing that some people will wait until they get that notice to abate to actually clear their weeds, and then we're doing it a little bit earlier. But I do want to just thank staff on the fire district side and the city of Lakeport side for all the work they do, especially when it comes to fires and fire hazards.
And who knew a propane tank could go flying through a neighborhood?
It's bizarre.
I mean, that alone is good community outreach of here's why you need to evacuate when we tell you to. So lucky no one got hurt.
Yes.
I would also add to that, there's numerous videos on Facebook, and one of them was, several of them were taken from the cars that were stopped right before that explosion, and that explosion happened, and they don't turn off their mics, so they're recording and they're the expletives and get the F out of here and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're turning around in the middle of the freeway, trying to get out of there, when they were actually trying to get either through there or to there. That's, you give them that, level of excitement, and, maybe it encourages people to go the other way. I would like to, and I don't encourage explosions on every fire, believe me. But I would like to also say that on top of the group effort, that it can't happen. None of these fires happened without bringing in and receiving mutual aid, and us going out for mutual aid and getting each other's backs and helping one another. And it certainly, the fire in Scotts Valley drove some decision making on my build out for the command rig to make sure that we ensured communications and those kind of things, and why the chiefs are working on grants to bring in Starlink, and it's and why we back each other up, and they come into my jurisdiction, I go to theirs to for those command experience and to bring that to the table, and assistance just to take that off. But to the city's credit, one of the things that happened this year, we did not have folks available to do abatement inspections, and the city stepped up and took over those abatement inspections. Bethany Moss, and as much as I would love to take credit for any of that, the notices up there were only for the district. That didn't include what happened on the city side of things. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that to the table and make council aware of what actually took place with that. Also, not only are we trying to figure out how to upstaff for fire inspections, fire marshal duties, we're trying to figure out how to work together to make sure our hydrants, both in the city and out into the county, are properly maintained, and that we're able to locate those as well. We have the proper clearances, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also trying to review what we can do to strengthen and bolster our ordinance with the fire district and add more teeth to it, to go out and start nailing these folks as well, for not only mowing when they have 3-foot high grass and not having water, and taking into consideration their neighbors and what they may be doing, but also catching them beforehand and getting the abatements done and addressed. And we have repeat offenders. We have some that they just count on the clock reset, and that we're not going to get to them before the end of the year, and the clock resets and we have to start all over again. So we're working on figuring out how do we do that. I know that Kevin's trying to work inside with your sets of ordinances, and I know we're going to be working with the district attorney and trying to figure out what we can do with our ordinances to strengthen those. It's not going to happen overnight, and I don't want to be a broken record, but I am a one-person show as far as I don't have a number two. I have my captains that are on shift and responsible for making sure the shift happens literally, and keeping track of those folks and training and responding to calls. So there's only so much that can go downhill until we get some additional staff brought onto our department. So thank you to the city. Thank you to staff. Really want to thank Bethany again for what she's done, and we do work very, very closely together. In fact, we were in communications today with several businesses trying to get those doors open or keep them open, because we're dealing with some deadlines and some permit issues. So that line of communications is absolutely critical. That level of communications or cooperation is absolutely critical, and truly appreciate everything with city staff. And you guys have a phenomenal staff all the way around, and I do appreciate what they bring, and answering the phone and coming out in the middle of the night and whatever it takes. They're there, and they've been awesome partners to work with, and I hope we're the same backwards. So going back the other way. But thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have a comment on this item. that it is frustrating to think that the fires are in one sense avoidable. I suppose that is human error, but it is frustrating to know that if people acted a bit differently, the fire would not have occurred. I like the idea of considering an earlier abatement time, and I think it seems clear that it's going to take a community effort, given the state, given the realities that we're working with state mandates, et cetera, et cetera. I read a Cal Cities article that pointed out that in 2011 there were a total of 5 acres in an unincorporated area in Lake County that had the very high severity designation. And at this time, with the new map, it's over 10,000. So this is the difference that has occurred over time. And just responding to that is going to take some creative thinking and some community efforts. That's that. Councilmember Price, did you have any comments? Okay.
No
Well,
comment.
thank you. So this item did not appear to have a motion of any sort. I think it was just to receive